Well, in a few months' time, the heads of the top telecommunication companies and regulators in the Middle East and Africa and around the world will converge on the capital of the United Arab Emirates for a special summit on the global and regional challenges facing the industry. This year, more than ever before, there will be a lot on the agenda, including mergers and acquisitions, infrastructure, penetration in the region, consolidation, and challenges going onwards. With us today on the programme is Tawanda Chihota, who's group editor of Com magazine. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I mean, who's leading the way currently, do you think, in telecoms in the Middle East?
I think the Middle East is a very strong market in terms of telecommunications, primarily in terms of their adoption of technology. I think that incumbent operators as well as new entrants coming into the market have been very strong. But in terms of scope, in terms of delivering those services, not just in their home markets, but also going abroad, we do have the likes of the UAE's Etisalat. We have Zain, which is Kuwait listed. We have STC, the Saudi incumbent. And we have the likes of QTEL, which have seen significant success and uptake in their own domestic markets. And as competition has entered into their markets, they've actually gone further afield, looking at other adjacencies geographically in terms of trying to replicate the success that they've enjoyed in their home markets.
Now, is technology keeping up with what customers want? I mean, there was this idea that we were going to be able to send video phone calls and we were going to send, pictures and everything very easily over our mobile phones. That hasn't really happened, hasn't really taken off.
The gamble that many European and North American operators might have made on 3G technology and paying huge premiums for 3G, which is actually the building block for the things like video calls and so on and so forth, were almost pie-in-the-sky type notions that they seemed to make sense. There was cash available to invest in these kinds of technologies, and there was a whirlwind of hype. And one of the things that's said about hype is that if the larger the hype, the more people believe in it. And I think that in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, there's been a real kind of maturity in the market, that the fundamentals remain strong, that people do want to continue communicating with one another, that they do want to be able to interact not only to people, but also people to machine.
Are we going to see more consolidation of the telecom sector, particularly in this region?
That's an interesting question. I think that the Middle East region has not been as badly affected by the economic slowdown as other parts of the world. I believe the telecoms industry as an industry remains a robust industry fundamentally. So what we then have is 2 camps of operators that indeed stock market valuations have fallen in some cases. Fourth quarter profits have been squeezed in some cases, but overall we still have a number of very strong operators in the region that have got an appetite for further growth, both technologically speaking as well as M&A speaking, and it's a double-edged sword in so much as a lot of these operators still have very strong balance sheets and cash positions, cash piles. But they are companies that do feel the effect a little bit deeper in terms of the slowdown. So I think there will be opportunities that those who have are going to go shopping, and given the depressed kind of prices that the global economic situation has brought about, I think there will actually be opportunities that do actually make M&A activity in the next 6 to 12 months a real possibility and further consolidation on that level.
Now, just finally, I mentioned that there's a summit coming up in a couple of months. What do you think is going to be the key topic at that summit?
Absolutely. At the end of May, I think it's May 25th, we have a number of CEOs coming to the region. And I think what they're going to be discussing is a lot of the points that we've raised, that there's an appreciation that the market as a global market is facing challenges. And they're going to be looking at ways in which they can not only continue to survive through this period, but also use it and maximize the opportunities that are out there. I think that cost saving and cost reduction is going to be a big issue. I think that regionalization in terms of trying to drive economies of scale and seeing how best that can be done, whether it's on expansion of networks, whether that's on roaming agreements. I think that the idea of mobile and fixed coming closer and closer together, fixed mobile convergence, and what kind of services that will drive. I think the idea of the opportunities in terms of the M&A, what would be the right kind of targets, the organic growth versus the M&A growth, the external growth, how that can best be incorporated into their own operations. I think it's these kinds of, and also technology questions, the next generation of development of the networks, and how that benefits and how you can actually drive revenues from new services that are put over those networks. I think all of those issues are going to be quite interesting, and I think it's a real challenge that, as I said at the beginning, I think that the telecom sector in the region in particular is in a strong state. So I think there are more opportunities out there than there are threats, and I think that this event will be a very good meeting ground in order to exchange those views and ideas.
Great. We're looking forward to the results of that summit, and Tawanda, Chihota, thanks a lot for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot. Well, there we are. That's it for this edition of Inside Business. If you'd like to get in touch with the programme, you can do so. You can write to ib@city7tv.com. But for now, from all of us on the business team, goodbye and have a good weekend.